why the world without sharks might be your biggest nightmare.
Remember when I said I'd show a cactus my uvula before I go out into the ocean?
Huh?
It was a tough cactus.
When did you say that? Ooh, shark.
I went swimming with sharks to see them in person and instead almost saw Steve Irwin. Shout out to the GOAT. That aside, I'm gonna make you like sharks in this video, but before things get better, first they gotta get worse. So thalassophobic's warning, here's the part where it hurts.
Thalassophobia. Ooh. Is that a squid? Or no, jellyfish. Jellyfish.
Honest question, has there ever been a horror movie about jellyfish? It's not like Poseidon didn't flush a metric ton of source material. You're looking at, unironically, one of the worst sights in nature. A jellyfish bloom. It's a problem for many reasons. One, it's basically a bath bomb from Shaitan, but also cause it's one of the last signs the ocean gives before it hits the point of no return. When a part of Neptune's neighborhood falls apart and can't support the animals in it, the last step usually involves getting gentrified by jellyfish, since the same conditions that are unlivable for most are usually where Satan's shopping bags thrive. And don't think because you're on land you're safe. Not only have these blooms caused legit power outs, but about half of the oxygen on Earth comes from the same phytoplankton these blooms.
How do they cause power outs in the ocean? Is there a lot of stuff running under the water? I don't know how that would work. Huh.
Blooms eat. So why am I talking about jellyfish in a video that was supposed to be about sharks? Well, if you're scared of one, you should probably thank the other. Sharks are the ocean equalizer, keeping other animals in line from their spot at the top of the food web. Near the top, we're getting to that. Basically, sharks eat the big fish that would eat the little fish that would eat the jellyfish polyps. The ocean is a Jenga tower, and sharks are the one block that can bring it all down. Now, it's not as simple as I just made it sound, where no sharks automatically means more ocean acne, but you really don't realize how fast the sea would fold without sharks. That is until you realize what their actual day looks like. Sharks aren't just the equalizer, they're the cleanup crew, mostly going around picking off the dead and dying. You won't see them chasing around small fry that probably aren't even worth it. The same way you probably wouldn't drive 45 minutes for a bag of chips.
I would.
You want to check your ego, swim in a shiver of sharks, and watch how hard you get ignored like J-Lo in the Bronx. I was surrounded by Galapagos sharks, and the closest I got to becoming a hashtag was the ocean slamming me against the bars like I owed it something. It was like an MMA cage match with Mother Nature that got way too personal. I wonder why. But yeah, the sharks could not care less about me. They really do treat you like an NPC. I did learn that because sharks can detect electromagnetic fields, if you stick a GoPro deep enough, you can say you pooped a shark. Just know, that was the most action I got all day. And if more people realized how often they get snubbed by sharks even when they're right under us, you'd realize why you're statistically more likely to get flattened by a vending machine, KO'd by a coconut, or even...
I feel like the vending machine also could just because how many people go into the ocean versus maybe pass a vending machine. I still don't really understand why people shake vending machines like they do. Like, give me my food. I feel like you could just get maybe an employee to unlock it if it gets stuck.
Past tense while putting socks on, then get milked by a shark. It usually takes bad RNG or a surfer adopting the silhouette of a seal. But why are sharks so scary actually? It sounds easy, it's a prehistoric predatory steroid guppy with permateeth, but honestly I think it's deeper than that.
Why did its mouth come out?
Snakes, and spiders. These are the arguably three most feared animals on Earth, and it's likely because we're hardwired to be afraid of them. Snakes.
I like sharks. I love snakes. But I mean, I grew up around snakes. But spiders? Ugh, I hate them. I hate spiders so much.
Legless, cold-blooded reptiles that even monkeys will throw stones at. On the other end, spiders have too many eyes, too many legs, and show up too many times in people's business to ever get good places. Meanwhile, sharks might just represent the fear of the unknown. The ocean is an endless, uncaring void that could wipe you out in seconds with nothing you could do about it. And projection's a hell of a drug, since that unsettling fear often gets put on the apex predators of that
mouth is so creepy.
Right there. You hear sharks and instantly think of another Jaws movie. So maybe you should see the sharks that don't make the big screen.
Anything of that nature.
This is a zebra shark. It's a cinnamon roll of a fish that is somehow less of a threat than the trauma donkey it's named after. The zebra shark is the beginning of sharks getting the sea dog allegations, and arguably the most dangerous thing about them is their front face. If nature wanted me to take the thresher shark seriously, they shouldn't have given them such an unserious pair of eyes. It does not matter what the situation is, threshers will always look like they really need an adult. Now they do kill prey by delivering soul evicting slaps with that tail, but look at them. He's just a baby. I'm sure there's a lot of cool
him.
stuff about the salmon shark, but honestly, all I can think of is that they're the baby Looney Tunes G-rated version of great whites. The epaulet is a shark with no regard for the laws of nature, using special fins to literally walk on land. And when sharks wake up with student loans, taxes, and only 2 weeks vacation, it's all gonna get traced back to him. This is a spinner shark, and even though it's hunting, I can't not laugh at how unserious this is. The nervous shark is literally named after how terrified they are of anything human. And whale sharks are unbelievably wholesome for a bus-sized fish with teeth in its eyes. Speaking of whale sharks, you got other plus-size filter feeders.
That's the one that's in Nemo, right? That's like the teacher fish, the whale shark.
Just like the basking shark. They're about 30 feet long, the second biggest shark, and they're really only a threat to your mental health, especially since a lot of plesiosaur panic can get traced back to a dead baskie. Then there's the megamouth shark, which honestly probably would be scary if you didn't know it's also a giant krill-eating pushover that lives in the forgotten corners of the ocean. Then you got the sharks you forget are sharks. Imagine you're at the shore and someone screams shark. Whole time they're pressed over a tasseled wobbegong, a type of carpet shark that takes the name literally by living its life as a homicidal rug. Here you have the smallest shark in the world, the lantern shark. There's a sawfish that... really? Okay, well, apparently it's not actually a shark, it's a ray related to a shark.
Really?
Because this is an actual saw shark, because you know the riddle. At this point, it's conducive to the same traits, that's convergent evolution. And you can't forget nurse sharks being so unproblematic and curious around people. Scientists called it the Labrador of the sea. And I'm glad they did, because now we get to go down the rabbit hole of sharks being dogs and cats at the same time. The poor beagle is a shark named after a porpoise and a beagle. Yeah, I don't get it either, but we'll get back to that. Dogfish were named after fishermen apparently watching them chase smaller prey in packs, like dogs. But some dogfish are also cat sharks, and they got their name from the vertical feline-coated eyes. Like the small spotted cat shark is also at the same time called the lesser spotted dogfish. Google says there's over 150 species of cat sharks, including the chain cat shark, or chain dogfish, because of course. Their biggest flex is they can glow green through biofluorescence. And they're not the only ones. It turns out over 50 species of sharks like kitefin and swell sharks can light up. That's about 10% of all sharks, and some actually use a light to hide. That might sound confusing, but if you're a predator in the crotch of the ocean, all you have to do is look up, and anything that looks like a shadow against the light of the sky is probably your next victim. However, if you can take a cue from a lightsaber, you can blend into the skylight and basically disappear. In fact, counter shading is a concept most sharks borrow from, and it basically means if you're above them, then the darker roof blends into the dark of the abyss, but if you're under them, the light underbelly matches the sunlight hitting the water. And when you think about it, a lot of animals use this strat to avoid problems, but some take it a step further, because scalloped hammerheads are scientifically proven to tan themselves if they sit in shallow, sun-exposed water. Some say recruiting melanin is nature's way of keeping them from getting eaten by their own kind, by making it easier for the smaller babies to hide. We got a little off track, I want to apologize for it, but the point is, if you're still afraid of sharks, then maybe you should subvert your expectations. Especially since some sharks aren't even full-time predators. The bonnet-head shark is like a hammerhead with performance anxiety. It's also an omnivore that eats seagrass, and in experiments, 60% of its diet included the green stuff. Whale sharks are also partly grass-fueled, and a study from Forbes found that half of what goes through them are plants like algae and sargassum. Okay, so maybe you're still afraid of sharks. Maybe it'd help if you knew what are sharks afraid of. There's only one thing that can send the Star of Jaws packing. You already know it's orcas. Killer whales are known to mutilate great whites for their livers, and often that's all they take. The sharks have been so beaten down that Monterey-based scientists found that great whites off Farallon Islands will abandon their favorite hunting grounds for up to a year if they run into the assault cetacean once. Researchers have even started playing the sounds of orcas on loop to keep sharks away from beaches. And imagine minding your own business and a hairless iPhone monkey plays your ops anthem. And I wouldn't call it fear, but both dolphins and sea lions have been known to bully great whites by abusing the always superior power of friendship.
Even sea lions?
Now I just feel bad for them. Bull sharks are honestly the closest thing to the stereotype, and they have about the highest testosterone levels of any animal. Yeah, even more than a down bad elephant. And even the bull shark has fears, and its biggest are crocs. They often frequent the same waters, and the rageaholic of sharks gets a severe attitude adjustment just by smelling them. They've also gotten sent packing by hippos, but by far the strangest thing sharks are afraid of. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. There is a very real rabbit hole of the most notorious underwater predators getting pressed by some bubbles, with hammerheads and tiger sharks reportedly really uncomfortable with the bubbles from scuba tanks. And
do they confuse it for jellyfish? That's my guess. Apparently marine biologists have to wear different scuba gear to avoid scaring them off.
is even working on making bubble curtains to use as a type of bug spray, but for sharks. Which was funny until I realized dolphins probably just have them that messed up. If you want the definition of irony, it's spending 400 million plus years predator maxing just to get stressed by a SpongeBob scene transition. So play some Orca opera and you'll keep sharks away, but the wrong playlist and you might just bring sharks to you. Sharks are attracted to heavy death metal music because apparently the vibrations and beats sound just like struggling or injured fish. Remember, sharks are like the morgue of the sea, and dive operators like Matt Waller will use music as a Batman symbol to attract sharks. Their favorites? According to him, AC/DC, You Shook Me All Night Long, and Back in Black are the best at getting their attention.
They have some good taste, it seems.
So are certain colors, because for a while it was widely believed that the single worst color to wear if you're afraid of sharks is yellow. Matter of fact, it was nicknamed Yum Yum Yellow for how wearing it could turn you into a literal snack.
Are there a lot of yellow fish? Is that why? Or maybe because yellow is just very distinct against blue? Is yellow the opposite of blue? Or like the contrast color? That's probably why.
The truth is, sharks are likely colorblind with only one color cone in their eye to R3, meaning they see the world in black, white, and shades of gray. Now what they can see is contrast, and anything that stands out against the ocean blue immediately gets their attention. The more you know. Now let me ask you a question. You think sharks get silly?
Isn't yellow like one of the best colors to wear when you're swimming? Because if you get sucked down, if you like drown, it's easier to see your yellow bathing suit than like brown, black, or like a white bathing suit, or like blue.
But like you think in 400 million years of being alive, they figured out how to have fun? Well, remember the poor beagle? Scientists peeped that the shark named after a dog will roll around in kelp, tossing around like a football, and even take turns chasing each other. Great reef sharks sink if they don't swim, so they'll often swim against current updrafts in order to surf and basically take a break from the whole just keep swimming thing. But what's crazy is they have a conveyor belt system where once one shark reaches the end of the line, it'll let the current carry it back to where it started. You could say it's just them saving energy, but is that not the same energy as this? Sharks have been fighting stereotypes like a boxing match for years, and the closest thing to an uppercut they got is the fact that sharks
why is it biting the other one's fin?
Researchers found that two great whites, Simon and Jekyll, had traveled more than 4,000 miles together after being first tagged off the coast of Georgia in 2022,
they were
eventually ending up in the Gulf of St. Lawrence, just off New Brunswick, Canada. It shows you how little we know about them, because a couple years ago, nobody would believe the final boss of sharks was down for a travel buddy. Shark scientist Yannis Papastamachiou linked up with researchers from the University of Hawaii, Exeter, and UC Santa Barbara to study reef sharks in the Palmyra Atoll to uncover the secret social circle of sharks. What they found was that these sharks have a literal social circle, with the same sharks hanging out together in the morning, separating and going about their business during the day, only to meet up again later. These shark groups even use the same part of the reef day after day like a high school lunch table, and these friend groups lasted the entire 4-year study. And it's not just reef sharks. By night, nurse sharks hunt alone, but during the day, they join cuddle parties of up to 40 in order to save energy. It must work, because white tips also power nap as a stack pack. Sand tigers are like sea coyotes, where they're fusion fishing. They have a close network of sharks they associate with, and even sharks they'll meet up with multiple times a year. Scientists now believe that if a shark has their version of a best friend, it's usually someone that's roughly the same size, the same sex, and about the same age, which would explain Simon and Jekyll. But now the real question is,
pick on someone your own
sharks
size.
form bonds with people? And the answer, like everything else, is complicated. Lemon sharks are not only famous for having favorite divers, but for getting jealous and overprotective when they see that diver around others. If a nurse shark is a Labrador, the lemon shark's a golden retriever with gills. Here's my thing now, sharks will form partnerships with other fish like remoras and pilot fish where they'll pick parasites off the shark, so this could just be a lemon guppy treating a person like any other cleaning service. Funny thing about pilot fish, sailors who saw them would swear they and sharks would act like close friends, and there's even stories of pilot fish chasing ships for weeks after they caught one of their sharks, apparently seeming distressed and anxious without him. And you probably wouldn't believe that
Let the shark
if
free.
something like that didn't happen with a person. In 2001, shark conservationist Jim Abernathy removed a hook from the mouth of a tiger shark named Emma. 20 years and several more hooks later, and Jim and Emma might as well be a married couple, with Emma still recognizing and rushing up to Jim even after up to a year apart. And we're not talking about nurse or lemon sharks. That's a 14-foot garbage disposal with the personality of a lapdog. We don't know for sure if sharks can feel affection like one, but it honestly wouldn't be a surprise, since sharks are intelligent enough to be trained like dogs. Eugenie Clark was an ichthyologist.
How do people tell if animals have affection or not? What is their testing? Like, how do they know if like snakes don't feel anything or if dogs do? How do they tell? I mean, at the end of the day, it could all just be, you know, them reacting or copying whatever you're doing.
Biologist nicknamed Shark Lady, who taught lemon
Shark
sharks how to
Lady.
push a target and ring a bell for food, and they even learned how to tell apart different shapes and colors. Some
Okay.
aquariums in the UK train sharks to roll over and respond to signals and commands the same way Pavlov conditioned dogs. And gray bamboo sharks also figured out how to tell apart different shapes, even when researchers tried tripping them up with optical illusions. And even after 50 weeks, they still remembered their training. It really shouldn't be a surprise. Sharks were around back when Saturn was bumping Beyonce and praying on a ring. Sharks are no dummies. You gotta respect that they might be the biggest flex nature ever made. Sharks can literally track your heartbeat through electrical reception. They have a built-in GPS. They have replaceable fluoride-coated teeth that can't get cavities. Some, like the Greenland shark, can live for a legit hundreds of years. You can find sharks at the very bottom of the ocean, under an active volcano, and even swimming in River Thames. And I honestly don't know what to be more impressed by. Really, the only weakness sharks have is they can be put in a trance-like paralysis just by getting rotated.
Get rotated,
Tonic
idiot.
immobility is usually triggered by pressing down on the snout, but sharks can induce it in some painfully awkward situations. Humans usually only put sharks on standby to study and tag them. Meanwhile, orcas do it to steal their organs like a black market merchant. But this time, I'm not gonna call them an oppressive Oreo, because we do something way worse. Shark finning is the practice of cutting off the fins and tossing the now mutilated shark back into the sea, where their only option is to slowly drown or bleed to death.
Like, if you're gonna get shark fins for, like, what, shark fin soup or something, why not use the rest of the fish or the shark? Like, why not? If you're gonna do that much, at least reuse the rest of it. But shark fin soup doesn't even have, like, anything tasty or beneficial, does it? It's just, like, rich people food.
Depending on the shark, that can take an excruciating 2 hours. And this is a fate that follows not hundreds, but up to 100 million sharks a year. All for something Gordon Ramsay called mid. At the end of the day, we gaslit sharks like no animal has ever seen. We put up every World War combined numbers on them every trip around the sun. Meanwhile, sharks might get 10 on a good year. In fact, you can argue that for all the shark slander, humans have the highest KD ratio against them. No other wild animal gets done this dirty. Moral of the story? You know it's bad when the author of Jaws, Peter Benchley, would go on to regret writing it and dedicate the rest of his life to shark conservation. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you had as much fun as I did. Make sure you drink water, hug your mother. R.I.P. Peter Benchley, R.I.P. Eugenie, and yeah, I'm gonna see y'all in the next one.
Hell yeah. Comment down below what your favorite shark is. I like all of them, except whichever one has the mouth that comes out. That one is creepy to me. But the rest of them, super cute.